The exile and rise. The delegation from Earth stood silently as the final verdict was delivered. The 7 representatives of humanity, scientists, diplomats, and military leaders, had traveled to the edge of the solar system to meet with the Galactic Council's ambassadors. They had come with hope and dreams of joining the interstellar community. Instead, they received a sentence. The species known as Homo sapiens is hereby designated as Quarantine Class 3, announced the Voldarian ambassador, his translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that the translation software indicated meant finality and authority. No technological exchange will be permitted. No interstellar travel beyond your heliopause will be allowed. Violation of these terms will result in immediate containment procedures. Dr. Elena Reyes, the lead cynobiologist of the human delegation, stepped forward. On what grounds? We've demonstrated peaceful intentions. We've shown our cultural achievements, our scientific progress. Precisely, interrupted the myth-airy representative, a gaseous entity contained within an environmental suit. Your rate of technological advancement is concerning. Your biological imperative toward competition, rather than cooperation, makes your species fundamentally unpredictable. Admiral Chen Wei's face remained impassive, but his knuckles whitened as he gripped the edge of the table. You're punishing us for our potential. We are protecting the galaxy from instability, the Zexian delegate said. Its crystalline form refracted the light from the station's illumination panels. Your species developed atomic weapons before achieving reliable space travel. Your history is marked by cycles of creation and destruction. Your neural architecture shows pleasure responses to both cooperation and domination. You are, by definition, evolutionarily unstable. The delegation returned to Earth with the crushing news. Humanity was alone in the universe, not because there was no one else out there, but because those who were had deemed them unworthy. The knowledge that intelligent life existed among the stars, but had rejected humanity, plunged Earth into what historians would later call the Great Depression. Governments collapsed. Religions fractured. Suicide rates soared. Riots engulfed cities as people struggled to comprehend their cosmic rejection. Earth teetered on the edge of self-destruction, seeming to validate the Council's judgment. But from the chaos, a new vision emerged. Dr. Reyes, who had faced the Council directly, addressed the United Nations in its emergency session 3 months after first contact. Her speech was broadcast globally, to every corner of a wounded Earth. They have judged us without knowing us, she said, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. They have condemned us based on their fear of what we might become. So be it. If they will not share the stars with us, we will become worthy of them on our own terms. Not by their standards, but by ours. The Prometheus Initiative was born that day, a global commitment to advance human civilization, not to impress the aliens who had rejected them, but to prove to themselves that the judgment had been wrong. The quarantine had one unexpected benefit: unity. For the first time in human history, Earth's nations found a common purpose stronger than their differences. Resources previously devoted to military development were redirected toward science, education, and exploration within the boundaries of the solar system. Within 5 years, the first permanent colony on Mars was established. Within 10, the moons of Jupiter hosted research facilities that pushed the boundaries of physics. Quantum computing, once theoretical, became practical as scientists freed from academic competition collaborated globally. But humanity's greatest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Akira Tanaka, studying the limited biological data the Council had inadvertently shared during first contact, discovered something remarkable about human neurophysiology compared to the known alien species. They're all specialists, he explained to the Prometheus Initiative's governing board. Each Council species evolved to excel in specific environmental conditions and cognitive tasks. The Voldarians are natural mathematicians, but struggle with abstract reasoning. The myth-airy have perfect recall, but limited creative synthesis. The Zexians process information at incredible speeds, but have rigid cognitive frameworks. And humans, asked Wei, now serving as the initiative's security director. "We're generalists," Tanaka said, excitement evident in his voice. "Our neural plasticity is off the charts compared to them. We adapt, we improvise, we overcome. What they see as instability, I recognize as flexibility." They'd been spacefaring for millennia, but they've each been doing the same things, thinking the same ways. We change. This insight sparked a new direction in human development. Rather than trying to replicate alien technologies they'd glimpsed, humanity began exploring paths the specialized council species might never have considered. 20 years after the quarantine began, the Quantum Entanglement Communication Network eliminated the light-speed barrier for information transfer across the solar system. 30 years in, the development of consciousness transfer technology effectively conquered death, allowing human minds to be preserved and transferred to new biological or synthetic bodies. By the 40th year of isolation, humanity had transformed itself. Genetic engineering had eliminated disease and extended lifespans. Neural enhancements had expanded human cognitive capabilities. Fusion power provided virtually unlimited energy. Asteroid mining and molecular manufacturing had ended resource scarcity. Earth had become a garden world again, with technology and nature in harmony. Mars was being transformed by aggressive terraforming. The moons of the gas giants hosted thriving communities of scientists and artists. Humanity had turned its cosmic prison into a playground. Yet they remained bound to the solar system, respecting the quarantine not out of fear, but strategic patience. The Council maintained observation posts at the edge of the solar system, their ships vastly more advanced than anything humans could produce, or so they believed. In secret facilities hidden within the asteroid belt, Dr. Rice, now in her 8th decade, but with the body and mind of someone half that age, thanks to human medical advances, led the Icarus Project. If the Council wouldn't let humanity join them among the stars, humanity would find their own way out. The Council species all use variations of the same faster-than-light technology, she explained to the Prometheus board. It's efficient and proven, but it's also detectable and defensible. They can track any ship using it and establish blockades. They expect us to eventually develop something similar and try to break quarantine. So we don't give them what they expect. Wei said, now a legendary figure in human society, his mind having been transferred twice to younger cloned bodies. Exactly, Reyes smiled. While they've been watching for conventional warp signatures, we've been developing something entirely different. Something their specialized minds never considered because it required the kind of lateral thinking unique to human cognition. The Icarus Project had created what they called a dimensional slip drive. Not faster than light travel in the traditional sense, but a method of temporarily shifting a vessel slightly out of phase with normal spacetime, allowing it to bypass physical barriers, including the Council's quarantine net. When the 50th anniversary of humanity's quarantine arrived, Earth made its preparations, not for another century of isolation, but for its triumphant return to the galactic stage. The return and reckoning. The Galactic Council headquarters orbited the ancient star Kappa Fornicis, a neutral location chosen millennia ago for its central position among the founding species' territories. The massive station was a testament to the Council's power and longevity, a sprawling complex of interconnected habitats, administrative centers, and docking facilities that served as the political heart of civilized space. No human had ever seen it in person. Until today. The Odysseus, Earth's first diplomatic vessel equipped with the dimensional slip drive, appeared 500 kilometers from the station with no warning. To the Council's defensive systems, it was as if the ship had simply materialized from nothing. No warp signature, no radiation trace, no distortion field, just sudden existence where moments before there had been empty space. Alarms blared throughout the station. The defense grid, designed to track and intercept conventional spacecraft, struggled to lock onto the unusual energy signature of the human vessel. By the time the Council's security forces organized a response, the Odysseus had already transmitted its diplomatic credentials and request for docking clearance. Aboard the Council station, High Chancellor Vextala of the Zexian Continuum convened an emergency session of the ruling assembly. "How did they get here?" demanded Representative Norak of the Voldarian Compact, their skin flashing patterns of alarm and indignation. The quarantine was absolute. Our monitoring stations detected no breach of the heliopause. Evidently, Vextala replied, crystalline form shifting in what passed for nervousness among its kind. Our understanding of human capabilities was incomplete. "We should destroy their ship immediately," insisted the Mythari delegate, gaseous tendrils writhing within its containment suit. "Their presence here violates the quarantine directive." "And start an interspecies incident," countered Representative Lisa of the Aquilary Union, her amphibious features set in diplomatic calm. "They've come in a single vessel, bearing diplomatic insignia, and transmitting on official channels. By council law, we are obligated to hear them." Reluctantly, the council granted the Odysseus permission to dock. The human delegation that emerged from the airlock stunned the council representatives. Led by Dr. Elena Reyes, now 108 years old but appearing no more than 40 thanks to genetic rejuvenation, the 5-person team carried themselves with quiet confidence. They wore no protective gear despite the station's alien atmosphere. Their enhanced biology could adapt to it. They carried no visible weapons. Their neural implants could interface directly with the ship's defensive systems if needed. They looked, to the Council's collective shock, more advanced than many of the species who had been spacefaring for thousands of years. "Greetings, High Chancellor, esteemed representatives," Rice said, her translator converting her words into the 23 languages used by Council species. "Earth sends its regards and respectfully requests a reconsideration of our quarantine status." The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of objections, threats, and demands for explanation. Vextala eventually restored order and addressed the human delegation. "Dr. Reyes," the chancellor said, recognizing her from the records of first contact 50 years earlier, "your presence here is a violation of council directive. The quarantine was established for the safety of the galaxy." "With respect, Chancellor," Reyes replied, "we've spent 50 years contemplating that decision. We've concluded that the Council's concerns, while perhaps well-intentioned, were misplaced. We come to demonstrate that humanity poses no threat to galactic stability." "Your very arrival contradicts that claim," said Norak. "You've developed technology that evaded our most sophisticated detection systems, technology that could be weaponized. Just as we've developed medical techniques that could save countless lives across the galaxy," countered Commander Aisha Khan, the delegation's military representative. "Agricultural methods that could end famine on developing worlds. Clean energy systems that could replace polluting technologies on industrial planets. We did not come to threaten," added Dr. Marius Novak, Earth's lead physicist. "We came to share, to trade, to learn. Isn't that the foundation of the Council? Mutual benefit through exchange." The debate might have continued for hours, but it was interrupted by an urgent communication. The Proxima system, home to 3 Council member species, was experiencing a quantum cascade failure in its star. The rare astronomical phenomenon was causing increasingly powerful solar flares that threatened to sterilize the system's habitable worlds. "Our scientists project total system failure within 72 hours, reported the emergency coordinator. "We've begun evacuations, but we can only save approximately 40% of the population with available transport." The council representatives began discussing response options, but none seemed adequate to the scale of the disaster. Traditional shields couldn't withstand the projected radiation levels. Evacuation would leave billions to die. The specialized knowledge of each council species, so effective in their domains, failed to provide a comprehensive solution. Dr. Novak stepped forward. "Chancellor, if I may, Earth has developed technology that might help. We've been researching quantum field manipulation for decades as part of our energy production systems." The council members looked skeptical, but desperation opened the door to consideration. Our dimensional slip technology, Novik explained, can be modified to create a protective shell around a planet, essentially shifting it partially out of phase with normal spacetime, allowing the worst of the radiation to pass through without affecting the protected world. Impossible, declared the Zexian science advisor. Such manipulation of reality at planetary scale would require energy levels beyond anything. Beyond anything you've considered, interrupted Dr. Tanaka, now Earth's foremost expert on xenobiology and comparative thought processes. Your species thinks linearly. Brilliant, but linear. We approach the problem differently. For the next hour, the human delegation outlined their proposed solution. The council's specialists raised objections, which the humans addressed one by one. What emerged was a plan that combined technologies and approaches from multiple disciplines, exactly the kind of cross-domain thinking that specialized council species struggled with, but at which humans excelled. With no better options and time running out, the council authorized the human intervention. The Odysseus, joined by 3 council ships carrying the necessary equipment, traveled to the Proxima system. Over the next 60 hours, the combined human-alien team deployed a network of dimensional shift projectors around the 3 habitable worlds. As the star began its final destabilization phase, the projectors activated, creating a shimmering field around each planet. The solar flares washed over the protected worlds. From orbit, it appeared as though the planets were ghostly images, the deadly radiation passing through them like light through fog. When the fields were deactivated after the danger had passed, the planets were unscathed. 3 billion lives had been saved by technology that would never have existed if humanity had not been quarantined and forced to find its own path. When the human delegation returned to the council headquarters, the reception was markedly different. There were still those who feared human unpredictability, who saw in Earth's rapid advancement a potential threat. But there were now voices speaking in humanity's favor, recognizing the value that human adaptability and cross-disciplinary thinking could bring to a galactic community of specialists. We propose a compromise, Chancellor Vextala announced after days of deliberation. The general quarantine will be lifted. Humanity will be granted provisional membership in the Council, with restrictions on military technology transfer and colonization rights until a probationary period is complete. And how long is this probationary period? Asked Rice. 100 standard years, replied the Chancellor. Commander Khan smiled. Acceptable. Though I suspect you'll find that we earn full membership well before then. There is one condition, added Norik, still wary but pragmatic. The dimensional slip technology. It must be shared with and regulated by the Council. Such power cannot belong to one species alone. Agreed, Rice said without hesitation, with the stipulation that Earth leads a new Council initiative for cross-species research and development. Our greatest strength is not any single technology, but our way of thinking across boundaries. That's what we truly offer the galaxy. As the formal agreements were drafted, Dr. Tanaka found himself in conversation with a myth-airy scientist who had been part of the Proxima rescue operation. I still do not understand, the alien admitted, its gaseous form swirling thoughtfully in its containment suit. How did your species advance so quickly in isolation? The Council's judgment was that without access to established technologies, you would progress at a normal evolutionary pace. Tanaka smiled. You made a fundamental error in your assessment. You saw our isolation as a limitation. We saw it as a challenge. When you tell humans they can't do something, it becomes the very thing they most want to do. The Myth-Aries translation software struggled to convey the concept, and Tanaka realized that this fundamental aspect of human psychology might be unique among known species, this defiant optimism, this refusal to accept limitations imposed by others. Perhaps, Tanaka added, that is why the Council was right to be cautious about us. But it's also why you need us. The galaxy has been stable for too long. You've forgotten how to face the unknown, how to adapt to the unexpected. Humanity never stopped practicing those skills. As the Odysseus prepared to return to Earth with news of humanity's new status in the galaxy, Elena Reyes stood at a viewport, looking out at the stars that had been denied to her people for half a century. "They meant to humble us," she said softly to Admiral Way, who stood beside her. "Instead, they forced us to become so much more than we might have been." We nodded. We would have been content to be junior partners, adopting their technologies, following their lead. Instead, we found our own path. And now, Reyes smiled, the stars are ours after all. As the ship slipped into the dimensional fold that would carry it home, humanity prepared to take its place among the stars, not as the primitives who had been judged unworthy 50 years before, but as innovators who had turned exile into opportunity and emerged stronger than anyone, including themselves, could have imagined. The galaxy wasn't ready for humanity, but humanity, it turned out, was more than ready for the galaxy.